No, I would. I think for me, it's so inspirational to hear the success stories, but then there is an element of like, oh fuck, that's so not me.
You know what I mean?
Shit.
Sometimes
Like,
I love a good success. I mean, the other thing I think, success is such a loaded word, right? So I think we have to be careful with even referring to something as a success story. But listen, I think the truth of our relationship with food is like, yeah, sometimes there are better years and sometimes, and I think it's important if we're really talking about what we're craving and what's really here, that we're talking to some people who are just like in it.
yeah.
Are
And
you
I
in
think
it?
with eating disorders, it's so, for me anyway, at the root of it is perfectionism. And then I hear like that if someone is so successful and they haven't touched sugar for 6 months, and I think, fuck, I haven't done that, so screw it. I'm not doing it.
Oh gosh.
If that makes sense.
Yes. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. It makes so much sense.
If I'm not going to do it properly, then I don't want to do it. But what is
welcome,
properly, I don't know.
Kim, welcome to the show. You and I are just at it. We're just in it. We forgot to introduce you.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
Well, I'm just introducing you. Like, Kim is a part of my Breaking Up with Sugar Facebook community, where I put a post up that said, is anybody struggling, want to come on the podcast? And my Australian friend Kim was like, I definitely do. And I said, hey, and she said, what do I bring? And I said, you bring your most vulnerable self. And so much so that we forgot to introduce you. What a great topic. That when somebody says that they've been perfect at something, it deters you from trying, is what I'm hearing.
And I just think, like, I hear, oh, perfect. Well, you haven't been perfect, so give up.
Woo!
And then I think,
hey, can we slow that down? I want to hear like how that happens.
Well, for me, I think at the heart of me, I do like to do things properly and 100%. And that definitely goes with my eating. And then when I've been doing the best I can, but perhaps not 100% perfect, and then I hear this success story or something, and they're like, I haven't even touched sugar in 6 weeks at all, and blah, blah, blah. And I think, oh no, I had a little sugar in that sauce the other day. And then something in my head goes, well, game over, you fucked it, let's start again. So
comparison is so the thief of joy, isn't it?
Yes, it 100% is. And that's what I'm a teacher, so that's what I always say to my students as well. I always say, like, just because you're understanding this concept in maths and they're not, doesn't matter. We all learn it. So I know that on a level of course, we all do things at our own level, but there's that goblin in my head that thinks you just can't do this. You failed.
Can we talk to this goblin? I'd like to have her on the show today. I'm not quite interested. I mean, I think you're fun and adorable, but I'd like to talk to this goblin because she seems to really.
There's like a lot of them,
a big dictatorship in that head of yours, huh?
Absolutely. And I think that's when I read your story and I read that, I had never read, I've done everything. And I know that's so broad, but I have literally done everything to try and get my weight under control. And so when I read your book, I read it almost with oh shit, this will be fun. I can do this in lockdown, because it was the first lockdown. And I was thinking, oh, I could do this for and I live in Melbourne, so we've had the longest lockdown in the world. So there's been plenty of time to really commit to something. And so I read it, and as I started reading it, I thought, and I'm sure other people have read this woman is me. She's done everything. And just time and time again, she's fallen on her ass, and then she's had to get back up, and then fallen again and had to get back up. And I thought, if she can do it, Christ, I can do it. So I can get back up one more time. And then I followed it really well, and she followed it. Even that terminology is not great.
Yeah,
really well.
I know. But
then,
you know why? Because it's so judgmental. I mean, it's just so judgmental, and it just doesn't speak to what a relationship with food is. I mean,
well, any relationship. I think if someone said you followed me well, that's why we're successful, I'd be like,
well, yeah. I mean, I think the relationships in my life would be like.
So I think when you started saying that relationship with food, and you said take it away and then see why it is that you use it, I always knew I had troubles with it, but I had never known the deep dependency and the deep almost yearning I had for food. And then I realized it was my oldest and best friend. And I think that sent me into these waves of grief that I did not see coming a mile away. And I think,
I mean, that's so the difference between declaring a diet and declaring a relationship is starting to really say like this is a thing, like wow. I remember that so profoundly. I had broken up with alcohol and sugar and flour all at the same time, not on purpose, just happened to go that way. And I just remember laying on that floor being like, what do I even do now? Side note, I'm in a different place. I'm a bit farther down the road than you. I mean, that passed and I'm so glad, but yeah, I mean, and I think the other thing about diet culture, which I actually, well, we'll get to that in a second, but like, I actually think with diet culture, like we are oriented to not be thinking this way at all, right? So when you say the thing about perfectionism, and when you say, oh, I listen to people say that they haven't had sugar, and listen, for those people who are listening who, you don't have an unhealthy relationship with sugar and you're here for like something else, you just fill in this blank here. Because I don't actually think breaking up with sugar is for everybody. And I think if you can eat sugar responsibly, like via con Dios, like you do you, yes,
100%.
it's not me. But
yeah, I do
this,
know what you're saying. I think, but that's where it also the comparison comes back in that I think, oh well, my sister can have sugar. She's great, she moderate, she doesn't overdo it. I don't see that engine start. Like I can feel my engine start when I have a little bit of sugar or flour. I think almost like game on. This is it. Like pedal to the metal. We're going full force. And it happens even when I think I've got control. It is accelerating with or without my conscious understanding of it. And I think that for me, I've always been envious of people who've been able to enjoy things in moderation. And I think I always, whenever I'm in the clear and I'm being healthy and I'm making great choices for me, I think to myself, I can be like them.
So you're just on this, you have this great quest to be a moderate person.
Yes. I think
it's hard to abstain and be moderate.
And it's hard to abstain and be, this is probably speaking to a deeper issue, but to be,
I'm here for it.
Like belonging. I have such a sense of belonging that when I abstain, I feel so out of that kind of belonging, that group almost, that I feel almost naked. So I'm like, I can behave like the majority here, but I can't. And so I'm trying to put a round peg in a square hole, and I'm trying to jam that fucker in and it's not going in. So I think for me, I can know intellectually, of course, when I'm dieting, I swim away from myself. I know that. And when I'm giving up sugar and flour, I'm swimming towards myself. I get that. But swimming towards myself sometimes is fucking frightening.
What's frightening about it? Help me understand what's frightening about it.
It's frightening because I'm 34 now, and there is so much shame, I think, attached to who I am and how I view this world. In not in all ways, but there is a lot of I've made a lot of mistakes, and there's a lot of trauma. I have a lot of trauma in my background that I'm getting a lot of help with.
Oh, that's so good.
Which of course again came from your book. I realized, oh, shit, maybe I do have trauma. But there was dealing with it is so heavy and so like bleh, that it's sometimes nice just to get away from it, if that makes any sense. It's nice to just be, I don't have to deal with that massive weight on my shoulders, which is what food gave me. It gave me that disconnect, like you're over there, I'm over here, stay there kind of a thing. But food no longer works because I've woken up to what I'm doing. So now there's that added thing of like, well, fuck, this doesn't even work anymore. So shit, what else can I do?
Do you feel backed in a corner?
I do feel like I'm backed into a corner, and there
Because
is
you
an
can't
element.
use food, you can't like, because everything's
Yes.
sort of ruined, but you're still trying to like make it work and like, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And it's almost like a childlike response of like, well, I didn't ask to be like this, and now I've got nothing to fix it. Like, fuck, give me something, kind of a thing. But I just have to kind of sit with it, and that is so.
Well, I'm not sure you have to sit with it. So because I remember the first time I ever saw Tara Brach in person. That was one of the most formidable experiences of my life. She's a Buddhist psychologist. She wrote a book called Radical. She wrote a lot of books, but at that point, she had just written a book called Radical Acceptance. And, she was saying, everyone was like, we've just done this meditation retreat. Like, what do I do when I get home? I'm not going to be all peaceful. She's like, yeah, you're still going to tell people to screw off. You're still going to be angry on the highway. That's life. And I think this idea, like, that we have to deal with it all. That it's like we either are binging our brains out or we're like dealing with it all the time. I just don't think that those are the only options out there. I hope not, or else.
Well, no, I don't think they are. And I think that's a thing I'm trying to learn to, like you say, slashing the tires and stuff. I'm learning just a flat tire is okay. Just get out and deal with that.
Well, hold on. I feel like you're already solving a problem and we're not even here to solve problems. We're here to talk about problems. What are you struggling with right now
with eating or with life in general?
Like, I don't know, eating, I think, because we're on what you're craving, but probably we'll get to life.
I think what I'm really struggling with eating and in life is that I just don't ever feel good enough. I don't feel like I'm doing it good enough. I don't feel like I just don't feel ever that no matter what I do, it's good enough. And I think that's
and so yeah, I mean, no wonder you feel miserable.
Yeah.
It's literally the recipe. I mean, because the fact is, if you released all the weight you wanted and then you got the job you wanted and then you got it still would never be enough, right? So you've really signed on to this belief, which is a repeated thought, so we can change beliefs, that nothing's ever good enough because you always just want to upgrade and want more. Is that right?
Yeah, and then I'm never quite there. Like I'm never at the level where I'm like, oh, I'm worthy or I deserve this. Or
why not? Why are you not worthy and why don't you deserve this?
Because I'm just, I don't know, that I think there's something.
Isn't that crazy that you can't answer that question and yet your entire belief system is wrapped around it?
I was like,
just because it's a bad habit, because I've just thought it for a really long time.
Yeah, and I know that a lot of it is internalized from different things, but I do base a lot of my decisions and my actions based on that. I can see that as an adult.
But Kim, like, what do you desire when it comes to your relationship with food? Like, what's your desire? What do you want it to look like and feel like? Do you know?
I wanted, after so many years of it being the forefront, I want it to be a non-thing.
Okay, what if it can't be a non-thing? That would be like to say that your relationship with your siblings has to be a non-thing. Right. I mean, I think we have a lot of expectation problems going on here. Like, I don't think you can, I think you can have some neutrality, but your neutrality needs to be rooted in the healing of the relationship, and your neutrality needs to, you know what I mean? Like, I get it. Like, I understand the desire for that. You have to be in a relationship with food, and you're basically saying, I don't want to have a relationship with anymore.
Yeah. And I think I just want to not have it be a constant thought of like, am I eating the right things? Am I doing the right thing? Am I, should I be having this? Shouldn't I? I just want it to be almost like you had an apple for snack, we've moved on, not, and then if I want an apple for later on, I'm like, you've already had fruit today. Like there's that constant, it's so embedded that I don't know, am I fixating on that? So then I don't have to think about anything fucking else. I think it would be to be neutral, but ideally I would love it if I could have it all.
Yeah. Well, you know what
Would be
Marsha
great.
Linehan always says? Marsha Linehan's like very big about like, getting what you want, being effective. It means getting what you want. And she says, the two reasons that we don't get what we want is number one, we don't know what we want. And number two, in the middle of thinking that we know what we want, we think we decide we want something else. And that's where negotiations go wrong. And I actually think we're talking about, because I actually heard you say like you wanted everything, but you also wanted nothing. You wanted a
Yes.
relationship where you could eat whatever you want, but then you also wanted to never eat again.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I would actually imagine that a lot of this chaos that you're trying to avoid, which is why you want sugar and it's why you want food in the back, is because you're like, don't actually know what your desire. I mean, we don't actually have a clear cut view of what you want. And that is, we're so susceptible just as human, living, breathing human beings to diet culture, to friends, to family. And food is just everywhere, that if we don't sort of understand even just how we want to feel when it comes to our relationship with food, we're going to get caught in the waves of diet culture, which it sounds like you're caught, because some days you're like, want to restrict your food. Some days you want to eat like a normal person. Some days you don't want to eat at all. Some days you want to eat everything. Right. And then you're in the midst of, by the way, of some really deep healing, which does, trend to us wanting to go to our well-worn snow groove habits, which we can, I think we should also talk about sort of how to mitigate that. But
Yeah.
does that make, that's what I'm hearing. It just all feels really chaotic to me.
I think so. I think no, you are right in that I'm kind of trying to navigate that, because it's been so long where I've thought I'm either restricting or it's game on, that trying to find that kind of neutral ground is tricky. And I'm triggered by the most unusual things. If I see someone else has lost weight, immediately in my head, I
That's
think,
just, but you know what the thing is? So this is what I found, and this is what my second book is about. I've had this opportunity to help thousands and thousands of people. And so I've always known how awful, and how interfering diet culture is, and how, our addiction to dieting is sometimes even worse than our addiction to food. But in the time that I wrote Breaking Up with Sugar, I've just been immersed in more people, who are all in the same process. And what I've seen is that a lot of times, until we can heal our relationship with dieting and our addiction to dieting, it's actually nearly impossible to heal our relationship with food, because it always interferes. I mean, it's exactly the story you're telling me right now. You're like, well, I read your story. I think I'm sure you took all the quizzes in the book. I don't think this is just like, because I don't actually think anybody wants to sit and say like, yeah, I have a problem with sugar. So you're like, okay, I have this thing. But then diet culture keeps on coming in. The weight isn't coming off fast enough. I want to eat like everybody else. I don't like it. And like, that's what I'm really, and then you're saying, and if I even get a sense that somebody is doing this more perfectly than me, that compare and despair comes up so quickly that I sabotage myself.
I think 100% that's what it is. And it's so, I'm ashamed to say
No, don't judge it. Don't judge it. Come on. Just let her sit here. Can we love her for a second? Come on.
Let's just get it out.
Well, what's the core feeling of sabotage? Do you know?
Shame.
Well, that's a good one. Yeah. But, I was thinking fear. So, yeah, shame and fear.
Well, I'm sure they're hand in hand. Yeah.
They sure are. Well, shame's a deeper feeling than fear. But so, can we, instead of, what if we really thought about this, not about food, but about healing shame and fear? I mean, there's no gentleness that you have with yourself here.
No, there isn't.
No. Can you change that?
Impatience.
Can I help you? Can we change that?
I would love that. Yeah, I really
it's all
would.
in there, babe.
I would love that. I think I'm so exhausted by my own brain.
Oh, Kim, I'm so exhausted listening to your brain. I mean, I say that with nothing but love in my heart.
Consistency is best, right? I'm exhausted. I know.
Well, you know what? Exhausted is a great feeling that can get us some change,
I just don't, I think I'm hoping to have children in the near future, and I am so aware of what I've inherited from my parents, and not just them. I mean, they did a fair whack, but you know, society and everything else. And I so would love to do my very best not to pass it on to the next generation, because
Yeah. And you have every right to just do it for yourself. I mean, you have every right to break away from these beliefs.
well, that's,
Every
I
right.
think I'm realizing that if I don't do it for me, the kid will see right through that. You
Yeah.
know, like when our parents used to say, my father was a smoker, and he used to say, don't ever try cigarettes. And of course I tried them because he was doing it.
Right.
You know, like,
Right.
but if he didn't smoke, I probably wouldn't have, because I would have seen what he was doing and had done that. But I know the burden and the heartbreak that I've given myself, and I don't want to willingly give that to another human being.
Well,
And so
it's more than just the diet piece. I mean, perfectionism is just, it's just this guarantee that you're never, ever, ever going to have contentment or, pure joy, because perfectionism's not in this moment, right? Perfectionism's like a future problem. What if, what if, what if? It's like the idea of, in this moment right now, like, you deserve healing. Like, in this moment right now, you're enough. In this moment right now, you're a badass, brave biatch, like, you're nailing it. Like, I think it's so interesting, the series that I'm doing here with the people who are struggling, right? Because as much as people who are struggling come on this podcast and say to me, I don't think I can heal, I don't buy it, because nobody in their right mind who thinks they can't heal comes on a podcast with me. You understand that, right? And I
yeah,
wonder what it might be like if we could isolate that fire inside of you and just get that smoking up, and then almost, I wouldn't even say extinguish that other stuff. Listen, that other stuff, if you're a trauma person, that other stuff has protected you for a long ass time. Like, let's just be clear. Like, there are functions to behavior, and this, like, I'm not enough, but that allowed you to not take risks. That allowed you to not get hurt. Like, all this stuff has served you beautifully, right? It has kept you safe from, we don't even need to go into it, but it has kept you safe. Like, we know this to be true. We don't want to shame that. We just want to put it to the aside. We just maybe don't, we want to be gentle with it and just say, hey, I don't need your protection anymore. I'm okay. I'm going to try this other thing. I think you have such a judgmental and shameful reaction to your protective thoughts. Like, I would just say, thank you.
100%.
Those thoughts come up, like, you're not enough, you're never going to have us. I'd be like, oh my God, are you trying to protect me? You are the best. I'm so good. My mother would be like, call me when you get home. I'm like, I'm 40. I'm okay. Like, I don't need to call you when I get home, Mom. Like, you did it. You did your job. Thank you for protecting me. Right. Like, and I think that these sabotaging thoughts are like, don't get big. When you get big, it's not safe.
Yeah.
Right. But it's safe. It's safe. It's safe to heal.
I think you do. I know what you're saying. I think for me, it is just not, you said in that coaching thing I went to with you, and I've got it in my bookmark at the moment, and it's fight for your life is what you said. And it's fight. I'm interpreting that as in fight for me. And I think for so long I've been fighting against me, like, you're wrong.
But I
You're doing
wonder
this
if we're
wrong.
talking about trauma here, if we're using the wrong languaging. I'm not sure that we want to be using the word fight. I think we want to be a little, because I think saying, listen, I think that works for some people, but I think fight might start up that lizard brain, might be like, I gotta fight. Like, no. I wouldn't even say fight. I would just be like, what do I want to feel? I deserve to be happy. What can I do in the service of loving myself? It's okay to be happy. It's okay to succeed, right? I mean, that's what you're saying, right? And it's okay to make mistakes.
I think when you just said that, I was like, that is some foreign shit.
But that's all it is. But all it is some foreign shit. You know what I mean? It's not, it doesn't mean you can't become fluent in it. It just takes some practice. And, and I think the
I
idea
would
that
really like that, I think, because when you said it, it resonated somewhere deep in my chest of like, oh, like to just stop fighting. Like I'm a great fighter because I've had to for so long, but just to stop that white knuckling through everything.
I actually think when you bring that fight for your life thing, it's actually awakens the part of you that we're trying to keep calm, like that we're like, I think it awakens the part of you that I actually want you saying all day to that part of you. Hey, listen, oh, you have protected me for 34 years. You're the best. I love you. I love you. Go play some golf, right? Go get your nails done, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to go build this like new mechanism. And I think this mechanism for you, because like, we don't want to awaken the perfectionist inside of you. Oh, I so struggle with this. I remember many years ago, I was in therapy for my commitment stuff because I couldn't commit to anything. And she said, so I was going to this gym all the time, but I was paying for the day, like you did, like a week or something at a time. And I was like bleeding money, she's like, why don't you just get the yearly membership? I was like, well, what if I want to move to Utah? What if I don't like it anymore, And she's like, are you moving to Utah? I didn't know. I was like, no, but like, what if I want to move to Utah, And she says to me, Molly, I just think you need to sign the membership. You can get out of a membership. And I remember it so well because I'm a big coffee drinker. I always have been. I don't know if I always will be, but I do love coffee. And I had to go to the gym uncaffeinated to sign the doc, because like I couldn't really be all that awake for it,
Yeah.
But I think the same could be said for you. Like, I think we got to not be making any sudden moves here.
Yeah.
Which is just like, hey, what am I going to have for breakfast today? That's like loving. And then I think when it comes time, and I really do think like, I love this idea of we'll see. Like, we'll see. I don't know about Christmas because we're filming this in November. Like, we'll see. Just right now, I'm just going to can I do something? Just, hey, we'll see. Maybe you're going to burn your brains out in December. I don't know.
Oh, well, I think in my head, I'm like, well, it's almost Christmas.
I know. It's like I'm reading your mind. I know, but like, that's what I mean. Like, this is going to be the greatest gift. Like, it's so gentle. You see what I'm doing? We'll see. I don't know. I'm just going to be in today. Just going to have lunch. Just going to have lunch.
I can do that. I can say, we'll see.
We'll see.
Whenever that person goes, well, what are you going to do for dinner tomorrow night? Because we'll see.
I don't know. It's not dinner tomorrow. It's not a right now problem. You're the kind of girl that wants to be living in the right now problems. Is this a right now problem? No. Dinner tomorrow night is not a right now problem.
And I live in Australia, a wealthy country. I'm not going to starve. We'll figure something out right now. Problem.
Yeah, just like, we'll see. Easy, like ease.
Do you think, I wanted to ask you, because I know you're a trauma specialist, do you think we have to understand our trauma in order to get past it? Or do you think knowing that a lot of our thought patterns are due to trauma is enough?
Well, I'm not a trauma specialist, so let's be clear on that.
Oh, sorry. But maybe you're just
I'm a trauma specialist in that I've been in a lot of trauma therapy and I'm informed in trauma, of course. Listen, I think it depends, I think it depends. I think it's about how you feel about it, to be honest. Right. And I also think the other thing I really think is that we don't do enough when we're in therapy or trauma therapy or any therapy. So I don't think we talk to the person treating us. I had this client and she's in trauma therapy and she's like, the trauma therapy is so hard. I think I need to quit. I was like, did you talk to the trauma therapist about that? Did you tell her the reaction you're having? She's like, no. I was like, how about we start there? Why don't we ask the expert what she thinks, right? I just think full healing is completely possible. I think it's you deserve it. I think you're such a fighter. And I don't mean, and I want you to be gentler, but I think you can heal. And I think you can heal while you're in trauma therapy. And I think, but I also think the thing about trauma is that it's in the body. And so really getting more familiar with your body and with breathing and with being in the moment. And that's like, I think what we're talking about here, and being really connected to people. How's your connection with people who are supporting your, I love a silence like that, Kim.
Supporting my trauma journey,
No, like you're finding your finding your loving relationship with food and yourself.
Well, I have a wife and she's brilliant, but she's never she doesn't have food issues. So I find it hard to connect
Yeah.
on that at all.
So we're like power circle. We're like zero on the power circle, except for your
No,
brilliant
and my
wife.
siblings are the other end. I have 2 sisters and 2 brothers. And they're the other end. They're like, you're fine. What are you talking about? This is how you were made. Don't worry about it. You're so extreme, Kim. Make sure you live
And listen to
life.
me,
Live
you
once.
are fine, right? You have a desire to be better than fine. I mean, that's what I'm hearing, right? And you have like what I'm hearing, and just correct me if I'm wrong, is like, I actually hear that you have a knowing inside that says, I want a better life.
Yes, that's what I was saying to my specialist the other day, is that I could very well live to be 85 just as I am. There's no part of me that's destructive, but I want it to be bigger.
Yeah.
Like I want to fill up almost with everything I know that I could do.
Yeah, this is the great dilemma that you have, by the way. You're not actually okay with this. You want to upgrade. You want a bigger life. You want a bigger, more free life.
Absolutely.
It's such a dilemma, isn't it? In its own way.
I think,
Making the
and
choice.
I think it's so, I've been through things where I realize how short life is, and I know in the blink of an eye, it's, the end of it, or it's over. And I so want to make the most of it, because I am fortunate in most ways more than not. So yeah, that's for me. I just want it to be bigger. And right now, I think the food and the issues with it just keep me so.
Well, I think it's the food. I mean, I don't think it's the food per se. I think it's the flip-flopping. I think you know what I mean? I actually think what's causing I think if you want to be a moderator, just go be a moderator. And if you want to give breaking up a sugar a try, give it a try, understand that it happens imperfectly, come back together with it, be curious about it. Like, I think what I would want you to do is kind of smash this delusion that you create about the compare and despair when you're saying, well, everyone else is doing it perfectly. Like, people I know doing it perfectly don't have big lives. This is my experience of it, right? Somebody in our Facebook group did say something like, what do you guys mean where you're doing it imperfectly? What I mean that I'm doing it imperfectly is that I try my best all the time, and sometimes I fall short. And when I fall short, I look into what I'm so curious about what happened, because I think there's like all the details on my healing live in those little golden moments of not honoring myself or whatever it is, or maybe just not planning. And then I just like get back on and do the thing. Like in any relationship, I just like in any relationship, any solid relationship I have. And I just stay in that beat. And that's what I call, and sometimes the steak has a sauce on it that has sugar, and I eat the steak and I go to bed. It's like, and we just keep moving and we just keep moving. And it's the thing I want to say to you is like, it's just not that dramatic, and you might have to get used to that, Kim.
Yes, I'd get used to that kind of moderate, just, it's funny because the thing I think I want, I'm trying so goddamn hard not to get there with that drama.
Be gentle, because trauma is trauma, and chaos, is a very familiar pattern to those of us who have experienced drama. My friend Becca always says drama is a drug, and so there's this part of you, I think, that really is familiar. I'm not saying you like it, but we go to what's familiar, and it's familiar with this pattern of, oh, I'm a terrible person. She's better than me. I should eat. I don't know. I want to. And it's like, I think if you can just become aware of that, oh my God, it's getting fast again. What can I do to slow it down? Am I feeling scared? What do I need right now? What's the story I'm telling? Like, starting to understand that there's stories coming out, right? When you're having these big feelings.
So I think what you're trying to say is, because I don't think I do this, is that I'm really good at outsourcing, trying to find information outside of myself. I love the books, I love the podcasts and everything, but
Yeah.
it's just trying to go internally and say, what is my own body trying to tell me at this
Yeah.
point in time?
What's
I've never done
the
that.
411? Tell me
Yeah.
what's, and I think some of it might end up being trauma. It might be like, this is too scary. This is too scary. And I do think, listen, I think you're in trauma therapy. So I think that's great. And I think the other thing is like, it's just saying, I don't need the protection. I'm okay. If you can get there, that may take a few weeks or months with the trauma therapy. That I'm not trying to simplify something that may be quite deep, but that's the end game, which is, I really hear that, And then I think the other thing I want you to really think about is, I love this idea of just having it be more peaceful, but like, how do I want it to feel? What do I want it to look like? Dream big, dream big. One of my patients is like, I just want to not binge. I was like, that's it. That's your deepest desire with food? Come on. Come on, level up. Don't be scared. Dream big.
Well, I think the thing is that probably in her defense and mine is that we've dreamt big before and then we've failed to get there. And then
I
there's
know,
that.
but it's because we
Yeah.
are continuously using the word failure. I had this
Yes.
patient, this is my favorite conversation I've maybe ever had in my life. And he said, well, if I ate the bread off the table, I would just hate myself. Wouldn't you just hate yourself, Molly? I was like, no. He's like, yes, you would. Come on, you would hate yourself. I was like, I literally wouldn't. He's like, what? I was like, I would be so curious. And I really mean this. I would be fascinated with what happened where I ate this bread where I binged this bread off the table. I would be so curious. I would be on such a fight to heal. Like I just would want to know what happened so that I could heal those parts of me that for me, that would not be a loving thing. Maybe for others that would. I'm not judging what you're eating, everybody. So chill on that. What I'm saying is it's like, I want you to just start to think about it that way.
Yeah.
Your first reaction when you even sense that someone's doing better than you, or you're less, I mean, that's, I think what trauma therapy helps with is with those synapses. That's what meditation helps with, the synapses. And Kim, I'm just gonna say one more thing, which you might not like me, but I'm not here to make friends. Like, I think you need some friends that have this thing. I think you need to get in with some people in your power circle where you can say these things to them and they're like, oh my God, me too. Here's what I do. Oh my gosh, I totally get that. Wow. Yes. Right. When I finished writing Breaking Up with Sugar, I called my friend Erin. I said, I just want to eat a big bag of low sugar granola. She said, oh my God, of course you do. And it just made me not want it anymore. She said, oh my God, of course you do. Aren't you going out to dinner? I said, yeah. She said, call me after. And it was like over.
And that was it.
That was it.
It's so funny when you say granola, because that's one of my weaknesses too.
Well, that's
and
my
I
gateway
always thought
drug,
it was
yeah.
so strange. But then I was like, really? I think for me as well is the thing that made me connect with you and made me realize, okay, maybe this is because I was always told I'm the failure because I can't succeed on the diet and everyone else around me could always do so well. And no one else in my family has got the weight issues I do. I'm the biggest and I was born massive. That's why it made me laugh when you said it. I was born over 11 pounds. I was a big baby.
Kim, nobody does well on diets. That's a really distorted thought you have in that. You're
really?
saying I can't do well nope. Diet industry is created for us to fail. It's like literally like the greatest con of all time. They make money off of us failing. So just for whatever it's worth.
Okay, I'm going to write that down.
Just might want to check that before you wreck that.
But I just think when you wrote in your story that you had the gastric bypass, I believe, and then it was okay for 2 years and then you gained the weight again. I had gastric sleeve 2 years ago and I lost a whole bunch of weight and a large chunk of my hair. And then I felt so, I'm probably going to get upset, but I felt so free, I think, from the noise inside my head because it was such a non-thing. I know you don't like that, but it was neutral.
I believe in neutrality. You're just saying I don't want to deal with it at all. I think that's
Yes, and
impossible.
I think that's what I liked about it, is that I didn't have to deal with it. My sole goal was, I'm going to put protein and veggies in my body because I can only put a small amount in, and that's what my body needs. And then I would move on. I didn't fixate, and I didn't all of that stuff. But then slowly,
Yeah,
the
I think that
process
you have to
becomes
read. This is not the story, though. You know what I mean? You not dealing with it eventually made you have to deal with it again. I mean, so this great desire, like, that's not an accurate story. Like, you've already told me 3 fake news stories in like a 3-minute period. Like, eventually it came back because we need to get you a relationship in which you can go through the good times and the bad times with the food, and you can come back and you can be curious. That's the difference.
I'm
Ain't no
just
quick
so
fix.
ashamed, though,
Ain't no
Molly.
quick fix. But there's no quick fix, but there's a wonderful solution. There's just not a quick fix.
I think for me though, when you say that, I think, what if, as I'm saying it, I'm thinking Kim, but what if I do all of this work and then I get to the end of it and I don't like it, what I see? That's my fear.
If you do it without doing the inside work, you will not like what you see. Because that's a diet. The difference between a diet and a relationship is changing your beliefs, is shifting what you choose to believe. It's the fundamental difference of a diet and a relationship. Which would mean I'm more than the weight, which would mean I'm doing these loving things for myself, which would mean I'm curious, like the bread story. Like, I'm curious when I make a mistake. I'm here to heal. I mean, none of that is diet culture. And that's doing it differently. And it's taking failure out of this. You're worth healing. You are healing.
Taking failure out.
I know she's taking copious notes. We're on a podcast, so people don't see your copious note taking. What's your takeaway? What's your takeaway, my love? Tell me your takeaway. Let me hear it.
My takeaway is that I have an issue with failing, and I think I'm trying to put it in my head, is that I'm almost sabotaging it so that I don't succeed, because I don't know what the fuck it looks like if I do.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm very good at failing, starting.
Right. No, stop that. Cancel clear.
No. Sorry, yeah, I'm very good at.
How about you just cancel that whole thing? Just say, I'm ready to heal. I want to heal. You can change all of this. This is all very changeable.
Okay. I can heal, I think.
You deserve to heal.
Thanks, Molly.
Hey, you need to get some people in your power circle.
How? I don't know if it's like this in America, but down in Australia, this
how did you find me in that Facebook group? Go on that Facebook group, say, hey, I need a power circle. Thank you, love you.
Okay, perfect. Do it. Done.
You're a treat. Maybe we'll have you back. Maybe we'll do another check-in on you.
I'd love that. I really do appreciate everything you do, and I know it is your passion, and it's what you feel like you were put here to do. But for someone like me, it was a revelation, and it did start up a lot of things that I'm hoping.
Listen, you're on a journey. Stop being on the destination wagon. Be on the journey, and maybe you'll even enjoy it,
Destination wagon.
Give yourself
me. Gosh, Molly, it's like you can read into my brain, because I'm always like, okay, this is what I'll do.
Yeah.
XYZ, and then by this time it'll be like this, and then I can get this, and then I can get that, and then I can.
In one of my spiritual circles, this guy said this thing. He says he has this post-it on his closet door, and it says it's not going. Oh, on his bathroom mirror, he has a post-it, and it says it's not going to turn out that way. And on the inside of his closet, it says not going to turn out that way either.
I love
we don't know anything. I'm so glad that you're taking care of yourself with the trauma. I'm so glad you were brave enough to come talk to me. I'm so grateful you're in our community. I love you.
Thank you, Molly. I'm going to be in this community. It's where I feel home. So
Oh, good.
thank you so much.
Good. Love you, Mama.
Take care. Thanks.